Well, welcome back, everyone, to another podcast, YouTube show during the coronavirus uh, uh, situation. We are coming to you from home with another roundtable panel discussion of several good, interesting articles, timely articles, and so maybe we'll kick it off with AJ. You just look like you're ready to go.
I am ready, dude. I'm so excited. Now, yeah, this week's been crazy. So, just the amount of small business stuff that's come out this week has been big, and the big one is the small business lending that's going on, and basically what's amounts to a forgivable grant or a forgivable loan, operating grant. And so this SBA loan has been going on. My the article that I have is from Politico, and it's a little bit older because the program launched today. But even this was 2 days ago or a day ago, they were already warning of a chaotic launch to this small business lending program. And one of the reasons is because the regulations and everything associated with it have been so new that banks and everybody else haven't had a chance to really get an understanding of what's needed for the applications and how those applications are. And as of recording, actually, today is the first day that you were able to apply for these and that it opened up for everybody. And so I know that like Ty and Charlie, you have experience actually with doing this application or attempting to do this application. So I was kind of wanting to get like a frontline report from you guys maybe on the challenges you were running into, because as the article suggests, and as I've been hearing, it's been a rough launch to this small business lending program. Maybe if you guys can give a little bit of background on, what the requirements are, what the calculations are. I don't know if you want to get into that much, but just give us an idea of what it is and how your experiences with it went.
Yeah, I'll start out by giving kind of just a rough thumbnail sketch of the program. And just to clarify, as of today, we're sitting here Friday on April 3rd, and it was supposed to be available today, but it's administered through banks. And so most banks actually didn't have their applications ready for customers yet. And so that's part of the roughness of rolling it out. Probably predictable, though. I mean, I think when we knew that banks were going to have it supposedly, or it was supposed to be ready by today, I wasn't hopeful that would be the case. So the PPP program, as it's called, Charlie, do you remember what the 3P stand for?
Paycheck Protection Program.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. So both Charlie and I have been working on this for our clients, and the thing is, in general, the way it's supposed to work is that you have a calculation of your average monthly payroll. You apply for a loan that's 2.5 times that average monthly payroll. That gives you a certain amount of funding, and then from there, that is a pretty generous loan in terms of the payment terms. You get to defer paying that back quite a bit, and then you also get a pretty low interest rate on it. I think as of today, the interest rate that I heard was like 1% or something like that. So pretty favorable terms on that loan. But the real favorable thing on that is that then if you spend the loan on qualifying expenses, which would include payroll and some things like rent and utilities as some of the key expenses, some of what you spend on qualifying expenses then will be forgivable, and so it essentially will become like free money to the company. The company does have to certify that they're facing uncertainty due to the coronavirus situation and the economic conditions in order to, as part of the qualifying eligibility requirements. But really, I mean, I think every company is facing uncertainty here, and so that particular requirement and the way it's set up kind of leaves this open to all small businesses. It is small business oriented, and so one of the key kind of hurdles or areas that has been of contention is small startup companies that are venture backed, because there are affiliate rules based on who your ownership is that could loop your company in with being grouped with your venture partners who may have other portfolio companies, And so when you claim to be a small company, you may not really be considered a small company. And how those exact affiliate rules works is not entirely clear, because there's some kinds of facts and circumstances, reasoning behind whether an investor in your company is considered to have control or not. So lots of lawyers and companies and VCs have been debating and looking at that issue pretty hard this week. And I think it's also been a topic between congressional members and Mnuchin about if there's anything they can do to straighten that up, because that of course affects a big chunk of the economy that could be helpful to get those loans to keep people on payroll. So that's some background. I've been working with some of our clients on getting them ready for it. From an accountant's perspective, it's ultimately it's an application that goes to the bank, so we can't really do it. It's not like a tax return. We don't prepare and sign off on something in that way for a client with regard to this, but we can help clients figure out if it's worthwhile to spend time on it or not, which is what we've kind of been doing. Charlie, maybe you have some other thoughts on that or experience you might share?
Sure. Yeah. So my experience with it has been basically two things. It's been prepping the application form, arguing with various people about what counts for eligible costs inside of the calculation. It's been then going to the bank's websites and calling them and whatnot and getting on the phone with them, but then going to their websites and finding that it's not up, not ready, and then kind of like anxiously getting all of your ducks in a row so that when it is ready, you can be the first one to get in there and get it done. But yeah, that's been everything you said. Sounds pretty much like the same experience that I've had. I've also looked into a couple of the other different options. I know there's been some talk about that there are certain businesses that can make better use of other tax benefits that are available through the plan, but it seems pretty rare in comparison because the payroll protection program sounds so, like you said, the forgivability of the loan is such a huge characteristic that it's hard to get past that. But yeah, it's one of those things where the other thing I found was that a lot of sites are just giving incorrect information. So I found like conflicting sites that both seem pretty authoritative. So I just want to urge everybody to, to check around, get qualified advice, and be sure that you know what you're putting on it. Because yeah, there's a lot of misinformation going around it right now.
Yeah, and I would say even the banks who you would think should know, but they're getting information in real time on this too. So we have to forgive them a little bit if they misstep with some of the information they provide. Really, if you want the most up-to-date, accurate information that you know is exactly technically correct, it would be the Treasury's website. So the Treasury website has some information on the PPP program. It also has something called the final interim rules, which sounds like a paradoxical title. They're both final and interim. They published yesterday, and so what the Treasury has is the kind of the real official technical guidance, and so I would point people to that website for that information. Until it's not over till it's over. You just keep working it, and we'll see how it all kind of plays out as we go forward. I think some of the angst over it is that I forget the number, but wasn't it like $350 billion that was set aside in the CARES Act for this program. And so that's a specific dollar amount, right? Which implies that the SBA could reach that amount and then stop providing these loans. And so that's what creates some angst over people thinking, oh, we got to be some of the first ones to submit our applications, and creating this kind of gold rush of sorts. But as a practical matter, and I would say, ideally and hopefully, what we've seen in other programs in the past is that when something like that is oversubscribed, usually the government goes back and then raises the amount that they're approving for such a program. So yeah, I wouldn't kill anyone to get to the front of the line on this. It's not.
And then the other thing that just goes in line with being patient on it is that I've read that a lot of the banks are taking the applications and they're allowing you to submit them and they're retaining that information, but they're not necessarily processing that to the SBA. And so that's kind of another indicator that maybe rushing isn't as much to your benefit as you might think.
Right, exactly.
I also wanted to point out that, like, I've heard from some colleagues that are working in the public accounting sector that it's kind of unprecedented trying to get information out to clients because it has been such a short turnaround and so many like little changes that come out. This isn't like an accounting or a tax pronouncement or law that went in where there's been months of deliberation and kind of combing through the details. It really is as fast as the information is coming out, people are reporting on it and kind of, you know, everybody's in the same boat trying to understand it. There's nobody that's a certified expert at it yet or has had the chance to really dive in and look at all the minute details yet because they keep changing. Like you mentioned, the Treasury website updated, I think today, the 3rd, kind of the interim final rules. And so those just came out today and kind of the information, the speed at which this stuff is coming out, I guess, has been really staggering and kind of overwhelming, I think, for a lot of people out there.
Yeah. Yeah, those interim rules I was talking about just came out yesterday on the 2nd versus today on the 3rd. But yeah, the point well taken that information is coming fast and furious, and if you're using, and that's why I recommend people go straight to the Treasury website for their best source of information, because if you're getting your information from a secondary or third source, their ability to update from the primary sources is going to be somewhat limited as fast as information is coming out right now.